Godzilla the Card Game uses the Chrono Clash system to pit legions of monsters against one another to find out who will be the king of the monsters. First, each player selects one of the 4 pre-built decks from the box, or customizes their own deck and draws 5 random cards to create their Guardian stack. The goal of the game is to defeat all 5 Guardian cards and then attack one last time for the win. On your turn, you can summon a battler, or you could play an action card from your hand. The cost at the top left is the amount of time you must spend on the chrono gauge. You can continue playing cards until the chrono gauge marker moves past the 0 and into your opponent's side of the gauge. You can also choose to use your battlers to attack your opponent's tapped battlers or their Guardian stack. When attacking a battler, if your battler's strength exceeds the opponent's, it is defeated and discarded. When attacking the Guardian stack, draw the top card. If it's a battler, attack it as normal. If it's an action card, it is automatically defeated. In either case, the Guardian card is discarded. Many cards in your deck will have a Guardian ability that's pictured in the lower right-hand side of your card. These are triggered whenever they're drawn and encountered from the Guardian stack. All the cards in your deck will have abilities that are activated in numerous ways: when they're played, when they attack, when they're tapped, and when they're destroyed. These abilities are conveyed on the card via a series of icons explained in the rulebook. Players can also optionally play with the EX deck, comprised of oversized cards that are your most powerful monsters. To play one of your EX cards, you need to sacrifice your own battlers from play to cover the cost. When a player's Guardian stack is exhausted, you have to attack them one last time, and when you do, you're declared the winner of Godzilla the Card Game. Godzilla the Card Game. Man, this is one that I've been waiting for so long. If you watched my last video, you heard me say that I'm a huge Godzilla fan. So I'm going to both be really wanting to love this game, and I'm going to be really hard on it as well, for the same reason, because I'm such a fan and I want this to be exactly what I want it to be. And I'll say right off the bat that it is very, very mediocre. That's disappointing for me to say, but it's not exactly what I wanted. Starting off with theme, the rule book itself has absolutely no flavor text in it whatsoever, which I think is criminal because, going into this, there's a lot of things that don't make any sense. And me as a Godzilla fan, I could easily come up with reasons for all of this stuff. I mean, first off, each of the 4 decks have all kinds of monsters in them, and there's many duplicates of a bunch of the different kinds of monsters, right? Like there's Godzilla from all different time periods in the same deck. And you could literally play them onto the table and have a Godzilla from 1984 with a Godzilla from 1954 and a Godzilla from 1998. All these different Godzillas fighting together on the table. And, that doesn't make any sense to me. But as a Godzilla fan, I can kind of hand wave it away and figure it out. Okay, there's some sort of time travel involved here, and all of these monsters somehow time traveled together and are now fighting together for a reason. And that leads me to my next point is, who am I in this game? It never references who you are because you have a Guardian stack in this game. That's the way the Chrono Clash system works, is you have a Guardian stack. So they're guarding something, and clearly they're guarding me, because how you win is you have to attack one last time when there's no Guardians around to kill whoever you're trying to kill, and clearly it's the player, right? In Magic the Gathering, you're a planeswalker. You're the magician. You're the guy slinging the spells, the summoning the monsters. You have 20 hit points, and your opponent is trying to kill you, the planeswalker. In this game, it doesn't tell you who you are, so as a Godzilla fan, I can make this up. I can say I'm space aliens, right? That happened in Destroy All Monsters and Monster Zero and Final Wars. Space aliens came down, collected a bunch of monsters, and made them fight the Japan, right? And that kind of makes sense with the time travel thing then. The aliens are making the time travel, but this is all made up by me. This is not made up by the game, so I have to dig for theme, and if I'm not a Godzilla fan, I don't know what the hell's going on with this game. So thematically, it's very disjointed. Pictures of Godzilla monsters do not equate to theme, and that's the way I feel about the thematics of this game. But talking about gameplay, there are things that I love and things that I dislike. Starting off with the things I like. The Chrono Clash system uses that chrono gauge. This is a really, really, really neat mechanism, and I've seen it in a lot of other games, particularly Crystal Clans from Plaid Hat Games. That's a really great card game. It's a better card game than this. But it uses the same system of you spend the time on the chrono gauge to play your cards. And you can play a whole bunch of them, but as soon as it passes over into your opponent's side, it becomes their turn. And I really like this because there is a good sort of programming of actions in the beginning of your turn. You're like, okay, I don't want to play all my cards immediately because it'll shoot me over into the other guy's side. So I have to do my attacking. I have to attack the Guardian stack. I have to, play these action cards to get some buffs, and then I'm going to play the cards that I want to play. And of course, like in Magic the Gathering, all your creatures have summoning sickness, so they can't attack the turn they come out anyway. They can't even defend on the turn they come out anyway. So you want to play those last to sort of get all your things in. So it's a really neat system of what am I going to do first, and what actions I'm going to take in what order I'm going to take them. And it's a really neat risk reward system where I could play a gigantic monster and it goes all the way over to my opponent's turn. And then he gets a whole lot of resources to work with before it becomes my turn again. I think in this particular box, that isn't really exploited very much. I don't think many of the monsters really do a lot of cool comboing quite yet. There needs to be expansions, but there's really good potential for something fun there. So I love that chrono gauge system. The second thing I really, really, really like, I think it's my favorite part of the game, is the EX deck. That's those extra large cards with the big monsters on them. I think this is a really great system here. I think it's cool that the only way that you can draw from that deck is by getting powers from your monsters. Your monsters give you an ability to draw off that deck. It's not just something you do every turn. So you have to get the right monsters out. You have to activate their abilities. Then you get cards, and you're probably not going to draw all of your EX cards throughout the game. So you're not sure which one of the 6, because you get 6 of them, that you're going to get. I really love that system because it's really exciting to get that monster out. I'm like, oh, which one am I going to get? Ooh, I got Shin Godzilla. Oh my God, he's the biggest one. He's the most powerful one. It's going to be so exciting to get him out. And he's going to blast off and kill everybody and kill all the Guardians. That's a really neat concept here. And I think that they could really go places with that system, making it more exciting, like putting out cool EX cards so that you could really build a really neat one and customize it to your liking and the kaiju that you like. Now, talking about the things that I dislike about this game, I really think that this game is filled with missed opportunities. First off, they have the concept I talked about when I went over all the decks in the last video, that they have the different forms of the monsters. Shin Godzilla has his first form, second form, third form, and then his final form. And the final form is the big bad one. Really, they serve no purpose other than to have more cards in the deck. You don't actually go through that evolutionary process in this game. And that's the same thing with the EX deck. You don't have to evolve to those things. You just get those things. Now, you sacrifice monsters on the board to get them, but you don't have to sacrifice Shin Godzilla previous forms to get Shin Godzilla. You have to sacrifice anything. I could sacrifice Megalon and King Ghidorah and then pop out a Godzilla. I wish that they would have exploited that concept of like the evolutionary forms to get a big monster. It takes you longer to play this monster, but when you finally do, he's the big bad on the table. I think it's a missed opportunity, honestly. And the second thing that I dislike about this game is I believe that the focus of action in this game is completely misplaced. In a game, going back to Magic the Gathering again, you're attacking the player, the other Planeswalker. And the Planeswalker's putting his guardians, like his monsters that he summons, in front of them, and he blocks with those, trying to block your attacks. In this game, you're attacking the Guardian stack, which is guarding your player, which the Space Alien's me. But your monsters really can't block. You can't assign them to block when they're going for the Guardian stack. You can specifically attack a monster, or you can specifically attack a Guardian stack. And the only way that you can stop them from attacking a Guardian stack is if having a monster has a Sentinel ability. And there are very, very few of them in the box. There's a couple of decks that don't have any of them. And so really there's nothing stopping a player from attacking your Guardian stack constantly. So the action isn't kaiju fighting kaiju, it's kaiju fighting a stack of cards that I don't know what's in there. It could be a bunch of action cards, and that's boring. And then, of course, the last attack kills me as the player, and the opponent wins. I just think the action is misplaced. I want kaiju fighting kaiju. And really the only reason to fight another player's kaiju is if they get a good, like a good spread of monsters that they could kill your guardians quickly. So you have to attack them, get them out of there so that they can't kill you. So that's kind of fun. I like that concept, but more of the action is spent on that guardian stack, which I don't think is good. And I think really it all comes down to the problems that I have with this game is that the Chrono Clash system was just a game system designed, and then Godzilla was jammed into it the best that it could be. And this game was not developed for Godzilla. Most board game publishers out there and designers get an intellectual property and design a game for it. And this game, it was not the case at all. It feels kind of half-assed, honestly. They're not putting the work in to make it a Godzilla game. It's a card game with Godzilla in it. So honestly, I'm disappointed. I think it's a fun game. I think it's an okay card game. It's a very mediocre card game. But when you're looking at other CCGs, LCGs that are coming out these days, this one can't cut the mustard against those things, man. It can't. It is not going to win over those other games that are coming out. Magic the Gathering, and they got the Marvel Champions card game coming out, and everybody's fired up about that one. And all of these LCGs Fantasy Flight puts out are really well done, and this one just doesn't cut it compared to them. Still think it's a good game, just not good enough. Disappointing.
Thanks so much, everybody. If you've enjoyed this video, please do us a giant favor by subscribing to the channel and clicking that wacky bell icon. If you're into board games, miniatures games, role-playing games, we have a bunch of audio podcasts you might enjoy. You can find those at thesecretcabal.com or on iTunes and Stitcher.